Hi everyone. I was wanting to come online live to share with you a very interesting conversation that just happened. I was being interviewed by Jeremy Blaine for his Future of Work series. And I thought I will jump on here and share with you a part of the conversation. But before I tell you about that, yesterday, I was having tea with a very good friend of mine, Sonia Piontek, who's also a keynote speaker on ultra creativity. And while we were having coffee, she shared with me about the fact that on Instagram, she was following a squirrel, a baby squirrel. And I found that a little bit hard to believe why somebody like her should be following a squirrel on an Instagram account. So, of course, I was curious and I looked it up. And this particular squirrel, all right, who's, of course, the owner is posting the videos and the photographs every day, right, has got some hundreds and thousands of followers. Okay. And whether the squirrel is eating nuts or the squirrel is sleeping. And I was trying to understand what is it that attracts so many people to want to watch this squirrel. Are there so many squirrel enthusiasts in the world, or what has happened suddenly? And the conclusion that I came to was that we are living in an age where we are starved for connections with others that are authentic, connection with others that don't have a veneer on them, connections where we can see the humanity and rawness of the other person. Sometimes people will say, "Oh, we really like your virtual background," and I'm like, "That's not my virtual background. That's my study. That's always been my study, right?" And so somewhere that squirrel, was my hypothesis, gives us access to that unedited reality of a person's existence. And what has this got to do with what I'm talking about, which is creating instant credibility and connection with another person? It's just this: if you want to connect with somebody or influence them in a way that goes beyond your title, that goes beyond your portfolio, that goes beyond the brand of your organization, then that interaction will have to be authentic. That interaction will have to come from a very human space. And that interaction will have to be not just about communicating with the other person, but connecting with the other person. And that is where storytelling comes in. We are moving through times of great crisis right now, and leaders have to establish their credibility and trust almost instantly. And it does not help to say, "Oh, you should trust me because I happen to be the head of the division." That's not enough of a marker of trust. What leaders really need to do is to be able to share their story in a manner that gives them instant credibility and connection. And there are three types of stories that I think can be told very easily by leaders. One has to do with the vision stories of the leaders, right? Where do they see their department, their teams, their group, their organization going in the future, which is a very difficult task right now because who knows what the future holds. But even in the space that we are in, there is a possibility of creating a storyline that allows people to connect to whatever is the future world or vision that might emerge. So, for instance, one of my clients, the leadership story around the vision of the future that they created was that as we are moving through COVID, the one thing that we want to be remembered for with our clients, with our employees, is that we put our humanity ahead of our numbers. Now, that is a story of crafting a vision of who we want ourselves to be. How do we want to be seen in the environment that we are in, right? Another story that can be shared in the environment that we are in is around the past changes that you have been through as a leader. So I was facilitating a session on resilience, And one of the things I did with the participants in there, was that I asked them to think about a time when they were very resilient, when actually they expected themselves not to be. Like they had never navigated that crisis before. They were really pushed to the brink, and they were really, starved of resources, and they did not expect themselves to make it, but they did. And then I told them to think of a story where they were certain that they were going to come out on top, that they would, be resilient. They had what it takes, but they really crashed and burned. And then I asked them to kind of contrast these two stories to try and see, well, what was it that kind of predicted you to actually succeed where you thought you would fail, and fail where you thought you would succeed, right? And the kind of lessons and conversations that came out of it allowed this group to have a very deep conversation of what does resilience mean for this group, beyond making pie in the sky statements like, oh, we must fail fast, we must fail forward, we must launch and learn, a lot of which has become almost, I might say, a cliche of sorts in some of these conversations on resilience that are happening, right? And so, vision stories, stories of past change, and the one that is absolutely, I would say, my favorite story to be telling at this time, which has to do with why do you care for your people beyond the title that you are holding, right? So the ability to articulate that I care about what is happening. Not just because I happen to be, the head of the department or your boss. I care about what is happening because, well, here's my story that connects to everything that we are doing. And, I was listening to Azman, who's the ex-CEO of AirAsia. And by the way, he's coming in for a LinkedIn Live with me next week. I'm really excited about that. We're going to be talking about, handling disruption, which is forced upon you, which is basically all of us right now, right? And he talks about how his own father's passing away and his father's health condition inspired him to work on the mission that he's on right now. So if you're looking to establish instant credibility, instant connection, there is no more powerful tool than storytelling. You don't have to be a squirrel. You just have to be human to be able to connect with your people. So I'm working on a storytelling program where I'm going to be looking for a few leaders who want to come and work with me backstage on their storytelling skills, which would then impact their ability to lead their people through change and transformation, or their ability to tell better stories in situations of influence and change, and so on and so forth. If that is something that is of interest to you, then I want you to please drop me a direct message on LinkedIn, and I will keep you posted on when that program happens. It's going to be happening online. This is the first time I'm actually going to be doing this directly with clients outside the corporate setup. Normally I do this with CEOs and their direct reports. But I just felt that more and more leaders right now need to show up in the humanity of who they are and use this tool to inspire people, to help them be more resilient through the times that we are moving in. So if that course is of any interest and you're at all curious, drop me a note. And I hope that you're keeping safe, and that the times that you're moving in, you're working with leaders who are not afraid to show up as they are for the people in whatever state they might be in. All right, until next time, take care.